Hey, what's up guys? This is Brian at Whisper Status 74. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the channel. If this is the first time you are seeing me, please consider liking and subscribing. We're real tech for real people. Today's video will be a 4K, 8K Best Buy walkthrough where I go in the store so you don't have to.
I've seen things through people.
Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I hope everyone is doing well. These are Best Buy walkthrough videos. I started these a few years ago. They were designed, as I mentioned, to go in so you don't have to. That took a more important meaning during the pandemic, as many of you, and some of you still are locked down, depending on what country you're in or what region or state you are in. So I still go in and do these videos. We call them creeper videos or stalker videos for those of us that are in the community. I'm like Michael Myers as far as how tall I am, and I'm sneaking around these stores with the camera, which is why you'll see random horror pictures up as I speak. But the point of these videos, again, is to show you the state of the store, what inventory they have, what's new, what's old, and what the prices are. In the last year or so, or at least it's going to be almost 2 years, it's been very interesting on what you see in store. New displays did not come in, but before we get into the video, the end of the TV season is here, which is bizarre because a lot of you guys will go through the year wondering what's coming out, what's new. Then you wait for everything to be released. Then you kind of do your math. And then a lot of you guys look forward to Black Friday. But this is around the time between now and November you start making your purchases. What's different this year is a lot of displays were delayed. The LG QNED took a really long time to come out. The Sony X95 just came out not that long ago, as well as the Z9J, Hisense dual cell TCL 8K. We've had a lot of amazing panels. It was actually a very good year for displays. We had a lot to look at from Samsung, again, TCL, Hisense, LG, Sony, and they were very spread out. Samsung was first. Their whole lineup was there. Their 900A, their QN90A, 800, 60. They had all those out. You'll see a lot of those on the video today. Then you had LG trickle out, but Sony was out with the A90J early, the A80J, and then the X90. And there's a lot of those choices for you guys to make. The challenge is we just got done with the season. Value Electronics Shootout was a few weeks ago, or at least it was last week, actually. We were all down there. I'll do a follow-up video to that. I still need to recap that. Had an amazing time, by the way. I have footage of that. But that is the end of the TV season. Everything is out. I believe at Value Electronics, we will see a 100-inch X95, or sorry, it's an X90J. That'll be the 100-inch Sony. But as far as newer panels, anything new is there. So now it's time for you guys to really make your choice. I will say before we go into the store, and I do want to do these intros to give you some context, it's harder than ever for you guys to make a choice. It's harder than ever for a few reasons. One, there's very little to show you in store. TCL, Hisense, those very popular those value brands are really closing the gap, especially Hisense and TCL. The challenge is you really can't go into stores and see them. Some Best Buys around the country do have them. In my area, there are 4 or 5 Best Buys. None of them have a higher end Hisense or a TCL. So no TCL 8K, no Hisense dual cell, which you've seen on this channel at Value Electronics. You can purchase that one there. But as far as the rest of their lineup, their more popular displays, you can't see them in store. That's a challenge. Also, coverage on displays is more of a challenge. There are so many more written reviews. There's also many more versions of us. There's a lot of YouTubers are out there. There's a lot of people grabbing cameras, making videos. There's a ton of knowledge out there. But what's confusing you guys is some of it's very different. You have huge reviewers, smaller reviewers like me. You have so much information. You guys are almost paralysis by analysis. You don't know which one to choose. Do I go with the C1? Do I go with the G1? Is the A80 better than the C1? Is the A90 that much better than the C1? Is the C1 better? Which one's for gaming? This one's only for gaming. It's becoming very confusing. The X95, very good. Is it good? I'm not sure if it's good. There's not that many zones. But it's still really good. But the Z9J is really expensive. So there's a lot to talk about. We will cover the best TVs, in my opinion, for 2021. It was actually a very good year in regards to TVs, what came out. I do feel the OLEDs really made their mark this year between all the iterations from Sony, LG, obviously. You also have Philips, Panasonic. OLED is really kind of taken that spot, and it's becoming affordable. The LEDs for me were pretty good. I really wanted something to steer me away from buying another OLED. That didn't happen this year. We'll talk about that as well in a separate video. But for you guys making the choice, again, paralysis by analysis. A lot of you guys are really overthinking every single number, every single comments within the comments from our channels. There's so many of us out there. I do suggest you watch everyone, but I do suggest that you take a little bit from every, influencer or YouTuber and try to come up with your own thought process. Don't just echo verbatim what you heard somewhere else. I can't tell you the amount of comments I get about panels that I actually have, and guys are delivering that with such certainty, and they've never seen the panels themselves, which I think is very confusing for you guys in the comments looking for information. You're looking for information, and someone so emphatically is pressing down with information they've heard from this thing and this thing and this thing, and then you speak to them and they've never seen the panels themselves. Very important to get as many eyes as you can on the panels themselves if possible, and that's why these videos are important. And I've been talking for a long time, but I wanted to have that part of the video first. You can always fast forward to the Best Buy part, but this is going to be a very, very difficult year for you guys to make a choice, but there are a lot of great choices out there. Going into the store now, sorry for the blah, blah, blah. All right, guys, here we are at home. I was told to stop whispering during these videos, which is ironic that actually bothers people. This is actually where the Z8H is. The reason why I wanted to show this area is I am very interested to see if a Z9J will be there, but the Z9D was there. And to have the Z9D and the Z8H, I'm waiting no Z9G or even the Z9J. Here you're looking at the prices for an LG G1. And as I'm checking it out here, this isn't actually a G1. This is actually a GX. And that's something I've been seeing a little bit in the stores lately, is changing the sticker, but not changing the panel. You've seen that with a BX and the A1. This is the GX. I did have to double check all these panels to make sure I was talking about the right panel for you. The G1 to me is an excellent panel. For me, I really wanted the G1 to be a huge jump over the C1. So a little disappointed there. I still think it's a fantastic panel. I always show this random Samsung LED turning thing. I don't know who would buy this, but it's here. I'll show it to you in a second. But what I find interesting is having these different panels in, different things labeled is troubling. But for many of you, I would just say that if you are buying anything, just make sure that you're buying this year's. And there's, for those of you that don't know, you could buy last year's by accident. Here we are looking at a new arrival for Best Buy, which is the X90J at 75 inches. Very good to see this panel. A 900H was here forever. I had this panel myself a few months ago. Good to see it here. And it is getting to that lower price, it was very expensive at launch, as the X95 took a long time to come out. But for reference, the 950H from last year was about $2,000 at 75 inches, not that long ago. Here to my right, we have that empty area here. A lot of empty areas, by the way. We finally have an A90J. There is one in the listening room behind me. That's also an AAH. AAH, a gorgeous panel. Really love that panel, but I do feel the A90J and A80J with the cognitive processor are a good leap forward for Sony. What is interesting to me, though, is how expensive these panels still are. And when you see the C1 drop, the A80 dropped, when it first launched. It'll be interesting to see if people choose a 65-inch A90J or a 77-inch C1. There's the AAH. The AAH has been down several times in price. It needs to keep dropping in order to get rid of their inventory, but also a very, very solid choice if you want a Sony OLED. Again, this room is very empty in comparison to what it's been in the past. I'll go back here and I'm showing you the prices. The reason I'm not reading out the prices is that some of these don't have prices, and you'll see them as I go through them. Going back to the X90, showing you that price again. And then as we go down to the right side, you're going to see the Samsung. You're going to see the Q900T. You have a lot of last year Samsungs here. You'll also see the QN85 or the QN85 above this one. Now you're starting to put things on clearance. This is last year's 8K model, and very impressed with the QN85, which is above this one, which even though it's an IPS panel, not the 900, but the 85, which you'll see in a second, this panel is very impressive in person. It's not impressive shooting it the way I am, as it really should not be above or below, but at chest level, it really does look good in the showroom, especially when it's brighter, even against the QN90A. And here you have the Q800A. Interesting how Samsung has things staggered, but again, this is in the Magnolia section, which I'm not sure the Magnolia still even exists as a company per se, but they do have, the QLEDs here, 8K. They do have the QN900A on the outside. Now I want to show this area as well, as the A9G was here forever. So having that panel, the A9G, the legendary A9G, be there for a few years, it felt like, 3 years, it felt like it was getting, but it was always there. Same with the ZAH, but the A9G was there even longer. Finally sold completely out of them. There's the Samsung, the frame, and here is the star of the Samsung lineup, the QN900A. This is definitely the best looking panel off. Its design is absolutely gorgeous. They're, bezel-less, leans back a little bit. Samsung really nailed the elegant design. It's still a beautiful picture on as well, but as far as its design, the center stand, very elegant, beautiful, beautiful image. Really like what Samsung has done, with their design, keeping things relatively thin, while Sony's Z9J and even the X95 is still pretty thick, as I rub the pedestal. Very minimalist. Now, as we move over to Sony's lineup, this is more of a random Sony, the X80. But Sony does have a little bit of something for everyone. They have the X90, the X95 in the higher end. The X90 is the replacement for the 900H. What troubles me a little bit with Sony is they have, and I'll show this to you in a moment, they have the X85 as their monster 85-inch, where in my opinion that should still be the X90J, much like the 900H. Now moving into Samsung. Samsung's lineup again here, they have a 70 and an 80, and then they have an 80 here as well. Their kiosks, the way they have them set up typically, are very easy to read and understand. You have to also be careful here that they're labeled the same. So you have always your 6 series, your 7 series, your 8 series, your 9 series. Now, the thing with Samsung is over the years, I always felt like you had the Q9, FN, 8. You were really safe with the 8 series. And other than a Q85, I do feel like the QN90A is really the one to grab in this lineup. I feel like the quality drops off quite a bit. I believe you have another 800 series here, QN800A. But Samsung definitely first to market. What's interesting, though, is by the time the other panels released their true offerings, the Samsung lineup felt tired. It had been out so long. Almost a full year between the Q900, and then the Z9J, which is its direct competitor. So much so as they don't feel like they're actually direct competitors. They feel like they're out in a different year. Now, the state of the store, it was very quiet. A lot of random sound bars around. They're really pushing a lot of sound bars. Here we go into the QNED lineup. It's nice to see the QNED here. It's not the 99, it's the 90, so it's the 4K version. I really like the QNED 99, the 4K, or I'm sorry, the 8K version. Now, the challenge with the QNED is that the QNED 8K definitely looks great with high-end, especially 8K content. The QNED 90 I've not spent a lot of time with. I do like it better than the Nano Cell, which is still above this one. But a lot of the Best Buys I had been in, the QNED had not even been there yet. To me, they should be pushing this panel hard. I like the design of the QNED. I like it's got such a solid, classy design. But again, what's difficult for you guys choosing is, again, these panels are being updated daily, not daily, but they're being updated so often. A lot of times when a reviewer gets their hand on them, by the time you think about purchasing, they're completely different displays. Now, to my left, you're going to see an LG C1 at 77 inches. Now, when I'm in the store and I see these panels at 77 and some people say to me, hey, that's not that big, I can understand why you feel that way. You're in a very large store. There's a smaller C1 and an A1. But you have to realize how massive these panels are once you actually get them home. Especially the 83-inch behind me feels like a projector. And for those of you that don't think, I will tell you that the 77-inch size to the 83-inch size, 16% larger, but it feels massive. Now here's where I'm going to show you Sony's lineup. They always had the lower level or the more entry level at this 85-inch size. I liked last year that they had the 900H in this spot because not only was it affordable, but it had local dimming. It had all the bells and whistles. There is an A80J there, my favorite OLED this year, and then there's a 950H. But I like that the X90 should be there at 85. I don't want them to have such an entry level because I do feel you need to have a good local dimming, full array backlight with an 85-inch panel. Again, a lot of empty spaces. The 950H is still there. Now, the 950H feels so old now because how long it took for the X95 to come out, which I imagine is going to be there. But good offerings from Sony. Shame on them for not having the VRR or auto low latency modes yet, and they really have to figure out their 4K 120. But good job as far as their picture quality. I want to show you quickly here what I am happy about seeing is they do have the UB8 A20 4K Blu-ray player from Panasonic. They also have this version here. It's nice to see them have some players as well as some projectors. Show you a little bit of that, but it's nice to see them have some options in store. But I want to say thank you so much for joining me this evening. Have a great night. Love you guys. Take care.